Hello there, and welcome to this beginning animal communication workshop. The picture that you see there on the screen is my angel horse. He's now an angel horse, and he was 17 years old when that picture was taken, and he was with me for 23 years. So he was in his teens at that time. And that is Shiloh. And Shiloh is a proponent, whether he was in the physical or whether he was in his angelic realm, of people with animals, and that people should be connecting with animals. And you know, if you can't believe it from me, believe it from the horse's mouth, believe it directly from Shiloh. And what Shiloh said was to tell people not to limp along with their animal communication skills. Now is the time for people to really learn to talk to animals and to listen to us too. We have much to share. And as I said, that was Shiloh, and he was 17 years old at the time that he said that. Shiloh and I both welcome you to the wonderful world of animal communication, and it truly is a place where we all do better when all creatures do better. I have people muted now, and what I would like to say is, if you are online and if you can hear me, please type that in the chat. And if you cannot hear me, please type that in the chat because I am not seeing what's going on here from the recording aspect of this. So fingers crossed that it's recording. There is going to be a question and answer session at the end where you'll feel free to ask your questions. And then you can also type them in the chat if you like so that you don't have to remember them. My name is Janet Roper, and I am an animal communicator and an educator, an animal advocate, a blogger. I have practiced Reiki 2, a Reiki 2 practitioner, and I'm also a student of shamanic practice. And what that means, being a student of shamanic practice, is I am in my second year of an intensive study. I have about 6 to 8 months left of doing this. And it's really interesting to see how what I've learned in the past year and a half or so from the shamanic perspective, how that is really tying in to the way that I work with animals, and by extension, the way that I work with the animals people. Because when I'm working with domesticated animals, there's usually a person, you know, attached to the other end of that animal, so to speak. So it's fun, and it's interesting to see how it's all coming together in this beautiful jigsaw puzzle. I have practiced animal communication professionally for approximately 15 plus years. It's something I've done all of my life. When I was growing up, I was told that, oh, you know, you can't talk to the animals. That squirrel didn't talk to you, Janet. But the thing is that I heard that squirrel talking to me. And I may not have heard it in words, but I knew that there was a message coming across to me from that squirrel. So I learned early on not to share that kind of information with my parents. And a lot of people who work in animal communication, either professionally or as lay people or connecting with their own animals, a lot of them have had that same experience growing up. Seems to be a very common experience, as a matter of fact. So my focus in animal communication is helping people realize about the relationship. The way I practice animal communication is we are in relationship with all the species. It is not power over with the people being up here and the animals down here, but it is relationship with, because I truly believe that we all do better when all creatures do better. And in order for all creatures to do better, there needs to be relationship with. And animal communication is a way to learn to be in relationship with the animals who are in your physical life, the ones you share your home with, your angel animals, the animals in the wild. So it's really an incredible tool to have in your toolbox. At this time, I am cheerfully owned and managed by one dog, Max, and you might hear him because there's been some sirens going by, and he loves to bark. Max is my barker, so he might chime in a little bit later here. And I'm also owned and managed quite cheerfully by one cat, Raven, and he might come across. Sometimes he does that whenever I'm doing the workshops, and he loves doing it, so he might chime in and join us too. And Shiloh might chime in, my angel horse. So we're going to see what happens tonight. It's going to be a fun evening for sure. You are in the right place if you have a deep love and a respect for animals. You are in the right place if you've had that nagging feeling that the animals were trying to connect with you, but you weren't sure how to connect with them. You know, when your dog looks up at you with those big eyes and you know they're trying to say something. And you're going, what the heck? You know, and it's just, you know, a message is there, you know, something is there, and it's just as clear as mud. So if you've experienced that either with your dog or your rabbit or your bird or your cat or the animals in the wild, you're in the right place tonight. And we're going to be talking about how you can work with that. I'll be giving you some tips on how you can work with that to find out what the animals are telling you. You're also in the right place if you've always wanted to communicate with animals, but you weren't sure where or how to start. Because, you know, if you Google animal communication, there's like a gazillion and 7 ways out there that you could get started. That's not much hyperbole either. Yeah, it's a little bit, you know, a gazillion and 7, it's a little bit hyperbole. But there's a whole heck of a lot of ways, different ways that you can get started. And so the trick is to find what works for you and to do some exploring within the realm of animal communication. So you're in the right place if you want to do some exploring and discovering what animal communication is like from my perspective and the way that I practice it. What you're going to be hearing tonight is how I got my start as an animal communicator, what I love about animal communication, why animal communication is so helpful. You're going to find out the question I'm most asked, and you're going to get the answer to that. We're going to talk about what animal communication is and what it is not, because there are definite parameters around what animal communication is and what an animal communicator does. And sometimes parameters can get kind of loosey-goosey, especially when we're talking about something that can be as intangible as animal communication. You know, I'm talking to a dog. How are you going to prove that what that dog said? What I told you is what that dog said. You know, and sometimes the parameters can get really loosey-goosey. So we're going to be talking about what animal communication is and what it is not, and hopefully in having a good definition of what it is not, what an animal communicator does, what an animal communicator does not do. That will give you a good foundation for when you are out looking for an animal communicator to help you in whatever way you might be needing help at that moment in time. We're going to be talking about how animal communication works, because yep, it does. It really does. And we're going to be talking about how you can get started and ways we can stay connected if that is something that you desire. And then at the end, there will be a question and answer period. If you are live on the call, or even if you're listening to this, I invite you to take notes, and then you will see why at the end of this workshop, why I'm asking you to take it. But if you want to take a screenshot, or if you're, you know, jotting down notes on the back of an envelope, which I have a tendency to do, you can take a picture of that, and then I'll tell you what to do with that at the end. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. That beautiful dog that you see right there, that is Teddy. And that is how I got my start into animal communication. And when I talk to my colleagues, my friends who are doing animal communication, a lot of them will say the same thing, that they were pulled into animal communication, that an animal brought them into animal communication. And that's usually the way it starts. So that's Teddy. And he's the one who led me into animal communication because he was peeing and pooping in the house, and that is not an exaggeration. I adopted Teddy from a Humane Society in Minneapolis. One of my dogs had died, and I know that basically in life I'm a 2-dog kind of gal. So one had passed over, and I knew I needed another one to kind of, not to take Squirty's place, the one had passed over, but to add balance into the household and everything. So went to the local Humane Society, and I'm looking at dogs, and I walked in, and there was this dog. His name was Tundra. He was big, fat, dirty. His little tummy just touched the floor, and he was filthy, and his hair was so long he needed such a good grooming. He had the biggest smile on his face, and he had this tail that looked like a flag. And attached to that flag of a tail was a little puppy. And Tundra who later became Teddy, was dragging that little puppy around who was attached to his tail, and they were both just having a heck of a good time. Now, this is before I was actively using my intuition and connecting with animals. So I walked in, I'm going, yeah, that's my dog. I like that dog. That's my dog. And then I went through my laundry list of questions that I had. Why is Teddy here? Why has he been here 3 times? The fact that he had been there 3 times should have been a clue. But also in hindsight, when I look back, the fact that he had been there 3 times had nothing to do with it, because Teddy and I were meant to be connected. So I asked that question that we all ask at one time or another, and is, does he keep the house clean? And the answer was yes. And okay, that's my dog. Got him home, and yeah, or excuse me, I asked if he kept his kennel clean, and the answer to does he keep his kennel clean was yes. So I got him home, and he peed and pooped in the entire house. And at the time, I had a split level house. I was teaching music, so the upstairs was to live in, and the downstairs was the music studio. And upstairs, downstairs, on the stairs, it didn't make a difference. Teddy was peeing and pooping. He was 8 years old at the time. Took him into the vet, and they go, oh, he's healthy. Worked with a trainer, and that did not, it didn't help us solve the problem. Let's put it that way. And so I'm at my wit's end. And as can only happen when we start working with our intuition, I'm sitting in front of the fireplace one day, and this odd event occurred. I was getting ready to light the fireplace, or to light the paper, and to put in the fireplace. And this ad fell into my lap that said, Animal Communicator in my neck of the woods. And I'm going, yeah, let's try it. Tried everything else. I'm desperate here. So I called her. She came out. She worked with me and Teddy. And the rest is pretty much history. I saw the difference that it made with Teddy. I realized that what she was doing was something that I had always done, particularly as a young child. And I realized it was time for me to get back into the saddle, so to speak. And so that's how I got into animal communication. If you want to read the whole story, you can go to my blog, which is janetroper.com, and then just put in the search bar how I became an animal communicator. And you will see even more pictures of Teddy and hear more about our story. What I love about animal communication, I really think that it would be easier for me just to make a short list of what I don't like about animal communication, because I can wax eloquently about it for hours and hours and hours. And what I love about animal communication, first of all, is that how it deepens the bond between the animals and the humans. And when I'm working with human clients, whether that is as a student, and I am teaching them about animal communication, or whether that is a client and they have come to me to work with their animal and to tell them what their animal has to say, I love it when all of a sudden it's like the light goes off and they recognize, oh, Janet, did you know? Janet, did you realize that since we made the appointment to talk to you, and this is a true story, okay? This is a very true story, and it's not uncommon that a lot of times when the people, let's say cat's peeing outside the litter box, okay? So the person calls me because the cat's peeing outside of the litter box, and we know that's not a good thing on ever so many different levels for us and for the cats. And so we get the appointment set up, and the appointment might be set out for 2 weeks. Okay, because that's when I can work it into my schedule. And so before the 2 weeks are up, let's say 48 hours to 72 hours, I get another phone call from her. Janet, since we set up the appointment, my cat seems to be so much better, and the problem has really lessened. And I'm going, yeah, that's great. Just wait and see what it's going to be like after we have the official conversation. So I love seeing how the cat or the animal is so tuned in and aware that the human is taking what could have been a common problem happening for weeks, months, if not years. And the human is already looking at a different way to work with the animal instead of telling them what to do. And so that's one of the things I love about animal communication. And I delight in witnessing when the person realizes that they too can connect with the animal in a deeper and more profound way. So, you know, if you're working with your dog, it's not just Max sit, Max don't bark. All of a sudden, when you're communicating intuitively, the relationship just goes boom to that different level. Boom, it's taken to a different way than it's been before. And yes, there needs to be an adjustment time, because any time that a relationship has changed, whether we are working with the animals, whether we're working with humans. Relationships are relationships. So when a relationship changes, it takes time for it to settle in. But after it gets settled in and the people are going, wow, I can connect. And it makes such a difference. I just love witnessing when that happens. I love when people realize that we all can connect with animals. All of us can. Whether we have the desire to do it or not, that's a different story. Okie dokie. But we all have the ability to connect with animals. And the fun thing for me about animal communication is you don't even have to believe in it per se for it to work. You just have to be open to it. And it's that, even if it's 1 degree of openness, it's that openness that opens the door, that allows the intuition from both sides, from the animals and the humans, to kick in and to create that bridge between the different species. It's a grand thing. And I love what happens when people realize that the animals are more than pets, or they can be more than pets. And that's an incredible thing, because the animals can be our guides and our teachers, and they can be messengers, and they can be our helpers. And when a human goes from that, oh, my dog, it's just a dog, it's just a cat, it's just a horse, to all of a sudden realizing that that dog or that cat or that horse might be mirroring something back to that person that they need to change in their life, boom, the windows open, the doors open, it's party time. It's party time. And I really think we are doing a disservice to the animals when we consider them just pets that we need to take care of. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street. And animal communication helps the relationship, and it helps realizing that the animals, yeah, they've got their own life. They've got their own things. They've got their own ways that they can help us. And when we open to that, the relationship just goes, yeah, I've said how many times tonight, boom, it just goes boom. It's great. Why animal communication is so awesome is that you get the point of view directly from the animal, okay? They're going to be telling you in the best way that they can, and the way that you are most open to hearing what is going on. So yeah, you can Google, see what's going on, you know, but also listen to your animal. Listen to what the animal has to say. What's that saying? You get it directly from the horse's mouth. And as Shiloh said earlier, it really is the time for us humans to get, well, I'm paraphrasing what Shiloh said, to get on the bandwagon and to really start connecting with the animals. One of the things that I find so amazing about animal communication is you can learn about potential health issues before they really become a problem. So sometimes I'll go out to a barn, and usually my sessions are done virtually or over the phone. I usually don't do face-to-face because I really want to use my intuition, and when I do face-to-face, I start looking at body language. But, you know, I do go out to barns upon occasion. And if there's a horse that is sending to me that they have a hitch in their giddy up, even though their movement looks fine to the eye, and I'm getting that message, usually something like that, it will be a physical feeling. I feel it in my hip or in my leg, and I'll be able to tell that person, you know, you might want to call the vet, you might want to call the farrier, you know, but this is what your horse is telling me. So I would get that looked into if I were you, kind of thing. And that can really, you know, relay some problems. You can get things that are caught earlier. Now, as I'll talk much more about later, animal communication does not take the place of vet care, and it does not take, or intuitive, professional medical intuitive, okay, or a vet tech. Animal communication does not take the place of those skills, okay, those professions, but they can work complementary together with each other. I love with animal communication, why it's so awesome to me is you can discover possible explanations for behaviors. So for instance, my first dog that I had, I didn't have pets growing up as a kid. So I didn't have my first animals until I was over 40 years old. And my first dog, I got her, and then I got my first horse because I had a dog, you know, and that just made perfect sense to me to do that. But that's beside the point. So anyway, with my first dog, I remember that, no, it was not my first dog, it was Teddy, excuse me, that he would try to get up on the bed. And I was going, well, buddy, you know, you've always jumped up on the bed. What's going on that you can't jump up on the bed? And I had this searing pain in my hip. And I'm going, whoa, and it felt, you know, like it couldn't move and everything. So all of this stuff was going on. I'm going, ouch, yeah, it hurts. I got the picture now. Thank you very much. So I took Teddy to the vet. They looked at his hips and he had arthritis. And just by him sending me that information, it got him started on a treatment that helped him and probably extended his life, or at least his style of life, his lifestyle. Made it a little bit happier and a little bit easier for him. Animal communication can help prepare the people and the animals when it comes to hospice, when it comes to dying and death. And that is really that's a very difficult subject because we all want our animals to be with us all the time. And fact of life, they're not going to be. So learning how we can help them transition over easier, really after they have passed. And when you look back on that, that can give the humans, the family, and the other animals in the family, that can give them some relief knowing that they did what that animal asked them to do. Perfect example, Emmy, one of my dogs, about, I think it was 4 years ago. I was still in Minnesota, southwest of the Twin Cities. I was in Belle Plaine, Minnesota, and it became Emmy's time to pass. And she was very clear as you're here, probably clearer than you're hearing me talk now, because I keep getting this little sign that my internet connection is not stable. But she kept telling me as clear as possible that she wanted to pass at home. She did not want to go to the vet. She wanted to be at home with me in her spot, because in our living room, she had her spot that she liked to lay in. And she wanted the cats to be there, and she wanted Max to be there, who is the dog that I have now and who was with us at that time. And so I called the vet and talked to them, and they said, yeah, we can come to the house and we can help her pass there. And that's the way it happened. A couple months later, my cat, Mitzi, and Mitzi was the queen of stink eye, and Mitzi was 23 years old when she passed. And she had the honor of being the oldest cat there at the vet clinic. And she had had kidney disease for years. I think when she was first diagnosed with it, they said, oh, you know, maybe she'll live 6 months, maybe she'll live you know, a year at the outside. And Mitzi, because Mitzi's Mitzi, and yes, and I supported her the best way that I could. That is very true. She lived, I want to say, 8 years with that. We managed it, we worked with it, we worked with the vets, I listened to Mitzi, and we really extended her life, period. But anyway, Mitzi was very clear that she wanted to pass at her vet's office. Very clear. And it happened when when she started to really go downhill. It happened on the weekend of a holiday, on a holiday weekend. And I'm going, oh, geez, you know, vets aren't open. The closest emergency vet was probably an hour and a half away easily, kind of thing. And I knew that that would stress her out. So I'm telling her, look, Mitz, I know what you want to do, but this is the way it is in the world, and this is going to happen. And I swear that cat, Mitzi, looked at me, and she kind of gave me the stink eye, because that's what she did. And that's how she worked with all the members in the household. She said, I'll hold on. And she did. So Tuesday morning at like 7:59 and a half, I'm calling the vet. I'm saying I'm bringing Mitzi in. It's her time to go. She held on. She went to the vet. She got to say goodbye to her vet and to her vet tech, and she passed peacefully there. So while the hospice and the death and the dying can be very difficult while we are experiencing it, it can help bring us peace in hindsight. The final, well, no, not the final thing, but the final thing on today's list is why I find animal communication so awesome, is because it's the natural way that the animals communicate. It's natural. We're not asking the animals to leave their animal world and to come to our human world. We are there in the way that they naturally communicate with each other, and we are learning how to do that. And the great thing about it is, Shiloh said, folks, you know, come on, it's time to do it. And the great thing about it also is that if you think of a bridge, the animals are on one side and the humans are on the other side. The animals are halfway over and they're there to help us. So that is a wonderful thing. My most asked question is, can anybody communicate with the animals? And the answer is yes. And that might be Raven, if you heard Raven, that meow right now. Everyone has the ability to connect with all sentient beings. I use animals because that's my passion. That's who I work with. But if you're passionate about flowers, if you're passionate about herbs, if you're passionate about water, if you're passionate about clouds, if you're passionate about sky, if you're passionate about the trees, they're sentient souls also. And with practice, we can learn to connect with them. But I'm going to stick to the animals right now. So yes, we do have the ability, everyone has the ability to connect with the animals. As I said earlier, you may or may not want to, and that's fine, okay? I have the ability to do my taxes. I don't like doing my taxes. And if I can pawn it off on somebody else, I will, okay? But yeah, same thing with animal communication. And I'm not saying that you pawn off. That was a poor choice of words on my part. I apologize for that. But if it's not where your passion is, if it's not what you feel comfortable doing, why not get help from a professional? Why not? You know, it only makes sense because it all goes back to relationship. In my opinion, in my experience, special gifts like being psychic or, you know, something like that, being called special because I talk to the animals, that just, frankly, it annoys me. It annoys me very much because I look at animal communication as a very practical, a very pragmatic tool that you can use in the everyday of your life with your animals to help them and to build better relationship. So when someone says, you know, oh, I'm psychic, I talk to the animals, to me, that creates a division. And infers that because I am psychic, I can talk to the animals. So that's kind of a hot button for me, and I don't want to go off on that tangent. So let's just leave it there that you don't need special gifts and you don't need to be psychic to talk to, or psychic as we normally understand it in our everyday world. From my perspective, all you need to do, the first step is to truly love, honor, and respect the animals. And my experience has been that when people truly have that connection with the animals, and when they truly love, honor, and respect the animals, and truly want to help them and do the best for them, they're already doing it. Just calling it by a different name, calling it a hunch or a coincidence, or you know, it just kind of happened. One of the stories that I love to share about that is when I was in Minnesota and Shiloh was at the barn, and he'd been at that barn for I don't know how many years, and he loved the people there, and he had everybody wrapping his tail. And the barn manager there, his name was Russ. He did some training actually he did all of the training for the racehorses that came in for the track there at Canterbury, there by Minneapolis. And Russ would walk down and he could have 40, 60 horses. It didn't make a difference. However many horses were in that barn, okay? He'd walk down that aisle, just walking, like, you know, you're taking a walk down the road. That horse needs this, that horse needs that, this horse needs that. You need to do this for that horse. And it was just a litany of what was going on with the horses. And I asked him one day if he believed in animal communication, and being the gruff old guy, he goes, wow, that's just stupid damn stuff. No, I don't believe in that. And he was like the best communicator, the best connector with the horses. And the thing that was really amazing to me to watch, not only as he did that, but how the horses would shape up when he was there. And yeah, Russ is here. He knows how to talk to us. So we're going to shape up and we're going to listen. Animal communication is not magic, okay? The chances are 99.99.99.99% that you're not going to make a 30-minute call to an animal communicator with something that's been going on and have it solved at the end of that 30 minutes. Chances are very good, like I said. As a matter of fact, if someone is telling you that they can solve your problem in 30 minutes, I would use my own gut and look at that. Because again, to me, it goes back to relationship. If there's a problem that's been going on and there's a relationship involved, you know, getting your teenage son to in 30 minutes go from not keeping his room clean to keeping it immaculate, what are the chances of that happening? The same thing is true when we connect with the animal. So it's not magic. When I was doing with Teddy, whenever the communicator came out and worked with both of us, I had homework to do. And it was like, I cleaned the house like crazy, like clean the house, deep clean the house like crazy. And then I had to move the litter boxes, and I had to do this, and I had to do that. So yeah, if somebody says, I got the magic wand, I'm going to do it, think twice, okay? And be prepared that when you're working with a communicator that there's going to be homework from your perspective, the human perspective, that needs to be done. Animal communication is not a medical diagnosis, prescription, or treatment. And when I am working with people, I am very clear about that. I do not diagnose, prescribe, or treat. Trying to figure out the best way to say this. Animal communicators talk to animals. That's what we've been trained to do. Some work in, like with Reiki, some work with healing and everything, but there's also a time when you need to call the vet, okay? Or you need to call, you need to call the vet or the animal's medical professional. So keep in mind that animal communicator does not diagnose, prescribe, or treatment unless they are a vet and have been trained to do so. What will happen, what can happen in a session, is that the animal will tell me, like I said earlier, you know, the horse, or Teddy said, you know, his hip was hurting. I can give that information to the person, and I can say, this is what your horse is telling me. This is what your dog is telling me. But at the same point, I'm very clear. This is from the dog. It is not what I am intuiting. Because again, I am not a vet, a medical intuitive, or a vet tech. Animal communication is not a replacement for training. Okay, so if there's training issues, if you've got an aggressive dog, call the trainer. Start there. Call a reputable trainer in your area, a gentle trainer, to help you and the dog. The way I look at animal communication, training, and the medical aspect of this is I look at a three-legged stool. One leg is the medical, one leg is the training, one leg is the animal communication. If one leg is out of kilter, if one leg is shorter than the others, everything's going to be off balance. But when you're working together with a medical professional, a training professional, and a professional animal communicator, you've got a good balance going there for your animals, and really helping them. Animal communication is a natural way to connect with the animals. And as I said earlier, with all sentient beings. It is animal communication, technically speaking, it's using your intuition. And so information is coming to you and going from you through your senses, okay? So when I communicate with animals, because I'm a wordy person, I usually get the information in words. Okay, some people will see colors. I will get feelings. I will see pictures. Okay, but what's coming to me is not what is in the physical present. Okay, it's beyond the physical present. It's in another plane, so to speak. So that's technically what animal communication is. The more that I practice it, the more that I witness it, what I truly believe animal communication is truly that heart-to-heart connection. And yes, there's responsibility and there's accountability that goes on when you have that heart-to-heart connection. But to me, that's where it starts. And that's a great way. If you have that heart-to-heart connection, the door is already more than halfway open, or at least halfway open. When we're practicing animal communication, we're also practicing actual skills that we use in real life with the people in our life, okay? And one of those is active listening. I'm actively listening to what that animal has to say. And I am taking in what that animal has to say. And I'm not projecting my thoughts or my ideas or my quote unquote help on that animal. I'm totally open to what comes from them. So when we're doing that active listening, you know, in my experience, it's a win-win for all species. How it works, animal communication works, is you purposefully connect with the animal. We're going to get into that in just a few moments. Information is both sent and received through the senses. The animals will reach out to us in the way they feel most comfortable, that we are open to receive it. And I know, you've probably heard, oh, animal communication, it's all in your imagination. My response to that is that it very well could be. And I don't mean you're making it up. What I mean is that our imagination, how we experience it, that is an okay. That is a door that is already open. That is an okay avenue for telepathic, for intuitive information to come to us. So yeah, if you're thinking it's coming through your imagination, heck, go with it, because again, the imagination, that has society's stamp of approval, that, it's really a lot, what I'm looking for. It's really a lot more accepting. If you start thinking of it as using your imagination, the information's coming through your imagination, then if you're trying so hard to hear what the animals are saying, I mean physically hear, or physically feel what the animals are saying. So I guess the best way to put that is that however the information comes to you, the animals have already discerned that's the easiest way to reach you. And if it's through your dreams, if it's through your imagination, if it's through music, boom, go with it, okay? The information that comes, it has an energetic essence to it that connects directly with the sender and the receiver. So it's kind of like having an email. Or using email. So when I'm connecting with an animal, I'm in connection with their human who is probably using email, and I'm getting the information from the animal via the email kind of thing. But there's also, when I first connect with that animal, I've got the information from the human, I understand what's going on from the human's point of view, and now I'm ready to connect with the animal and hear what they've got to say about it. There is still an energetic imprint that tells me that I've got the right animal, that helps me with that. And it's kind of, the way I experience it, it's kind of like I'm in the right place. I'm at the right time. If you just heard my dog Max going, that's one of the things that he does whenever he says, yeah, you got it. That's it. That's it. That's one of his confirmation sounds that he makes. So yeah, there's that energetic. And as you practice, you will start to feel that yeah, I'm talking to the right animal. It's kind of like if you go to a networking event and you feel very comfortable talking with the person you were supposed to meet up with. And let's say, you accidentally bumped into somebody that you weren't supposed to be talking to, or that was not on your list, or however you want to look at that. And you just felt uncomfortable because you didn't have all your ducks in a row and you weren't ready to talk to them. That's the way it feels. The great thing about animal communication is that our man-made, and I literally do mean man-made, barriers of time and space don't exist in animal communication, which is why I can connect with animals down the block, which is why any of us can connect with animals down the block, on the other side of town, on the other side of the state, on the other side of the United States, on the other side of the continent, on the other side of the world, with angel animals. Because those barriers that we've created that marks time and space for us, it doesn't exist in the world of animal communication. So at first you kind of feel like loosey-goosey, what's going on here. And it can also be, I'm going to go ahead and use the word disturbing, because I think it can be disturbing when you're not receiving the information as you're used to receiving it when you're talking with a human who is here in the physical. Maybe your neighbor, maybe your spouse, maybe your children, kind of thing. Animal communication does not necessarily work like that, because there's that lag time of space and that lag time of time. And sometimes it takes a while to put the puzzle pieces together. I've had clients, and I'll say, this is the communication, this is what your animal's telling me. And they'll say, well, that just doesn't make sense. And I'm going, okay, well, just hang on to it. Yeah, it could be that I got it totally wrong. It could also be that the timing isn't right, because the information needs time to blossom and for that person to be able to hear it in the way that they need to hear it. Okay? So if you're talking to an animal and nothing is making sense, don't don't automatically go that you can't do it, or you got it wrong, or you had bad chicken the night before and you're feeling upset. Give it time and see what happens, because there can be a lot of things that happen within that time. And I just lost where I'm supposed to be. There we go. So just a reminder to take notes. And what we're going to do now is we are going to learn how to create what I call the circle of quiet. And to create a circle of quiet, what you do, and this is going to sound probably so mundane and ridiculous, and after I drink my tea, I'm going to say it anyway. Go to a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. And what that means doesn't mean a less noisy place than what you're used to being in. It means a quiet place. It doesn't mean at the beginning, it does not mean you go to your local coffee shop, okay? It means you go to a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Maybe that's another room in your house where you can shut the door, ask the other people in your house not to disturb you for the next 15, 20 minutes, half hour, whatever kind of thing. But you want to get away from all the action and all the activity. And the other thing that you want to do is not only is it a quiet place, but you're leaving all of your technical gadgets and fun stuff. You're leaving that out in the real world, so to speak, and you don't take it into your quiet place, okay? Because the quiet place is the place for you to learn to go deeper in your brain waves and go deeper into that place where we are more open to connecting with the animals. As you are in your quiet place, and that could be outdoors too. And that also can be in the hammock. I find the hammock itself a very great place to really go into that world where I connect with the animals. When you're in your quiet place, you're going to quiet your body. Some people will do meditation. Some people focus in on their breathing. The way that I have that works for me is instead of, well, I should just own up that when I hear the word meditation, I get that deer in the headlight kind of look, and I just want to run the opposite way. Because to me, meditation means sitting on the yoga mat saying Om, and that's not me, okay? So what I do instead is listen to music, draw. I do what I call riding my breath, and there's breathing exercises that you can do. But instead of doing the exercise, what I do is I'm just conscious of that breath, what it feels like in my body as I inhale and as I exhale. And I call that riding the breath. When I was first out of college and was teaching music down in Cutoff, Louisiana, I used to go down to the Gulf of Mexico. And I did not grow up around water or even learning how to swim, but I would go down to the Gulf of Mexico and I learned how to ride the waves down there. And it was one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life. And that's how I experienced the breathing. I'm just riding with my breath. I'm just going along with it. So you'll quiet your body. As you quiet your body, your mind will start to quiet down too. Now, if you get that monkey mind, one of the things that you can do is to pretend that there's a wastebasket, an imaginary wastebasket, an energetic wastebasket sitting there next to you. And if that monkey mind of, oh, I got to do the laundry, if that just flows through, you just take that thought and you put it in the wastebasket. If that monkey mind thought, oh, it's time to go shovel the snow or mow the grass or whatever it's time to do, take that thought and you put it into the wastebasket. The great thing about doing that is you can always retrieve those thoughts if you want to afterwards, but you don't have to, So what I've done with a monkey mind wastebasket, if that's what you want to call it, after I've been working like that and working in session, is I will literally take that energetic wastebasket. I will literally open the physical door and I'll just kind of, boom, everything goes out and I ask for other wind to take everything away, and that works. When you're connecting with the animals, remember those words that we were taught when we were kids, please, may I, and thank you. That in itself, it's like the key that opens up the door, so to speak. And I do say that with some hyperbole, but not much, okay? Because think, when you are talking with someone that you don't know, we're not even talking a different species. It could be another human that you don't know or you don't know that well, or you don't feel comfortable around something. How far does it go with them? With you, when they say, please, may we have this conversation? Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. And when they honor what you say about it, and that's the other thing, is when you ask permission to talk to the animal, hey, is now a good time? Honor what they say. You're going to get basically one of three responses. The first one is a yes, the second one is a no, and the third one is going to be some kind of maybe. So if the answer is a yes, you go with that, have your conversation, and thank them at the end. If the answer is a no, you go with that, and you just say, thank you very much for considering it. You know, if you want to talk, maybe you can come to me at a later time and connect with me. And if the answer is maybe, same thing. Well, give the animal time to think about it. And not always, you know, going, are you ready to talk now? Are you ready? And I'm speaking from experience because I've done this, and Shiloh's gotten extremely upset with me when he was in the physical. You ready to talk now? Shiloh, you know, I've got some stuff to do, and I really need to have this conversation with you. And he's going, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm just not going to talk to you because you've got an agenda. That was from my personal experience and in the relationship that Shiloh and I had at that time when he was in the physical. But basically, if you get either a maybe or a no, please do not take it personally. It's just information. And what it could be, if you get a maybe or no, that animal could be tired. That animal could not be feeling well. And think about it. If you're tired and if you're not feeling well, do you feel like talking to somebody? So, you know, open up our perspectives a little bit, and don't look at it as rejection. Look at it as information the animal is telling you to help you later when you do connect with that animal. So, like I said, if the animal says yes, just have the conversation. Thank you very much for the time. You know, I'm really glad that we had this time together. I'm really glad that we had this conversation. It's been so helpful. And then, yeah, just own the conversation. Own the conversation. Because one of the things that you've done when you've created a circle of quiet, you've stilled yourself. In our society, that's a honking big thing. You've connected with an animal. Yes, that's another honking big thing. And you've had a conversation with a different species, which is just incredible. Okay? So regardless of if the communication went as you think it should have went, and by the way, you know, throw those shoulds out the window, because there's no shoulds in animal, there's no shoulds in life, there's no shoulds in animal communication. The conversation was, what it needed to be at that time with you and that animal. So you've had that conversation and just accept it for what it was. Those are remarkable things that you have done. You've stilled yourself, you've connected with a different species, and you've had a conversation with a different species. That in itself is at least 5 gold stars for you. Okay, and you can quote me on that. So what you can do now to start communicating with the animals is create your own circle of quiet. And I highly recommend you doing that at the beginning, simply because there's so many things that can distract us. What we're actually doing when we are communicating with the animals is we are leaving our monkey mind behind, so to speak, and we are changing the brain waves. Okay, we're going into that deeper brain wave, and that takes help. You know, and sometimes the help that we get is by leaving our general noisy environment and going to that quiet place so that it can help us change our brain waves. So one of the things that you can do is when you leave the house, tell your animal pals that you're leaving and that you're coming back. Make sure you tell them that you're coming back. And yes, I know in this lifetime, we cannot guarantee that we're coming back. We can always say the intent is coming back. What I tell Max and Raven is that, okay, guys, I'm leaving. You guys guard, and I'll be back as soon as I can. And I realize that's not quite saying my intent is come back, but that's where I am at with it right now, to be quite frank, to tell them I will be back as soon as I can, kind of thing. You can also give your animal pal something to do, and that's really helpful, because they're part of the family. They want to help out with the family too. And so what I do with Max is, Max, you bark. Max is the most natural barker in the face of the earth. And what you're doing when you're giving your animal pal something to do while you're gone is you're giving them something that they already know how to do, that they're already good at. Because you are creating a win-win situation here for everybody. So you give them something they already are good at doing. So with Max, it's barking. Okay, with Raven, particularly when my cat was ill, my cat Billy was ill, Raven, would you watch over Billy and let me know if I need to come home and take care of him? And it never happened that Raven called me to come home, but there was also not a doubt in my mind that Raven would have done that if I needed to be home. So give them a job to do while you are gone. what you can do instead of using words, try sending a picture. So what I do is with Max, I'll just send a picture of his. He's got this big bark window that runs basically one side of the house. I call it the bark window. It's basically just this really incredible big window that he barks out of. And so I just picture him standing at the window barking. He gets it. And I know when I'm gone, he's barking because, you know, that's just what Max does. And it's really great. I feel very comfortable that he's got a job, that he's feeling responsible, he's feeling accountable in a good way, and that he's helping. Max loves to help. Most animals love to help. Make sure when you return home that you ask them how things went, okay? And then listen to them. And whether that is watching their body language, because particularly at the beginning, body language can be a really big helpful tool in discerning what information you're getting from them, okay? Watch their body language. Pay attention to any thoughts that come to you. So if I've told Max to bark while I'm gone, I come home, Max, how did it go? And I see this picture of him standing at the window, woof, 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 and go by. I'm going to, yes, horses go by my rope. That's what I love about living here. I am going to take that as the gospel truth, that that's what Max experienced. And he's telling me that he kept the house safe from the horse, so to speak. He did his job. Great. Thank you, Max. Thank you so much for doing that. The bottom line that I would like to tell you is whatever information you get from the animal, particularly at the beginning, you know, and in later workshops that I give, we'll be talking about ways that you can discern this. But for right now, at the get-go, so to speak, let's just go with trust whatever you get from those animals, regardless of how crazy it sounds, regardless of how ridiculous it sounds. Trust that at that time, that's what that animal needed to tell you in that time, in that way, that piece of information. That has been a lifesaver for me over the decades that I've practiced. Okay, and here's the thing about the screenshots and the notes that I know y'all have been taking. And what it is I want you to email me, or, you know, I invite you to email me, and if you're open to doing that, this is wonderful. But as a thank you for being tonight and listening to the talk, what I would like you to do, if you're wanting to do so, is to email me a picture of your notes, and that can be a screenshot, that can be just a picture, you know, of the handwritten notes you've taken on the back of that envelope, and to send that to janet@janetroper.com. And what I will do is, as a thank you for being there, I will answer one question that you have about your animal pal, whether they are alive or deceased. So you not only need to send me your notes, picture of your notes, but you also need to send me a picture of your animal pal, and you need to tell me if they are alive or deceased, and you need to give me their name, approximate age, kind of thing. That is always helpful for me. And then your one question that you would like to know. And I will answer that. I will talk to them. I will hear what they have to say, and I will send that answer to you. So after I get the link, after the recording, this magical recording thing, and it's all ready to go, I will send you a follow-up email, and it will have the link to tonight's recording, and it will also have a reminder about sending in the notes. So you don't have to remember it. I will help you with that. I hope you've enjoyed the call, and one of the things that I sincerely hope is that you're beginning to recognize how you're already communicating with animals, particularly the animals in your household, because who knows them better than you do, okay? So it's taking off our human blinders and recognizing that we can go into that deeper relationship. We've probably already been doing it, and now we're going to consciously pull it up so that we're aware of doing it instead of being unaware of doing it. And when, again, to me, the world of animal communication, it literally changes the world when you start connecting with the animals. Ways that we can stay connected. Well, first of all, you know, send me your screenshot or your envelope covered notes. It's one way that we can stay connected, and I will, as a thank you, answer your one question about your animal. I do workshops on Learn It Live, and that is learnitlive.com. As a matter of fact, I did one earlier this morning on fireworks and pets. And not only talked about the pets in our life, the animal pals with whom we live, but it also talked about animals in the wild. And it also talked about, excuse me, about, sorry about that. It talked about the animals in the wild. I talked about the animals in the wild and also about farm animals, how the fireworks affect them and how we can help them. So that is available. That and other workshops are available at learnitlive.com. And if the workshop is over, you can always get the recording of it. And when you get the recording, you get any notes, any handouts that I would have had for that workshop. You can join my newsletter, and that is janetroper.com. And at the top, that's my site. And at the top, you'll just see, sign up for the newsletter. So you can sign up for the newsletter. It comes out basically every 2 weeks, unless there's a special offer. Sometimes in between the 2 weeks, I will have a special offer for subscribers only. And if that is the case, I will send you another newsletter reminding you or telling you of the coupon code that I have. And then you can always join me on Facebook, and my business page on Facebook is Talk to the Animals. That's talk with the number 2, the animals. And you can connect there, and we can have all kinds of fun conversations about the animals in our lives. So yep, just like I said about the workshop, stay tuned for them. You can also host your own animal communication class if you want to go deeper and learn more about animal communication. You can become a host. The host receives it for free. And in exchange, the host basically gathers a group of people together. And if you're here in Missoula, we can do it in real life. If you're not in Missoula, we can do it virtually. That is something you're interested in. You'll see the links in that in the follow-up newsletter that I send out probably tomorrow, or email, not newsletter. And you can follow up on that. And one question that was sent in to me earlier was, well, Janet, how do I know that the information I'm getting is from the animal and I'm just not making it up? And that's a very valid question, extremely valid. We all go through that. We all go through that. I do not know one person in the world, professional animal communicator, layperson, just talking to your dog in the backyard, who has not experienced that at one time or another. So one of the things that really helps me with that, how to know that I'm not making it up, is for me, and I've mentioned this earlier, is to trust whatever information I get from that animal is what needed to be said at that time and that way to me from that animal. Okay? So that's kind of the blanket of what I start with. And I am trusting, regardless of how ridiculous that information is, regardless if it makes no sense to me at that time, I'm trusting that that's what came from the animal. Because when you think about it, why would information like that come to you at any other time? Information, you could be thinking about your laundry list, you could be thinking about your to-do list, you could be thinking about going to play the piano, you could be thinking about going swimming, you could be thinking about your yoga class. Why did that information come to you at that time and that way from that animal? That is my lifeline. Now, taking it a step further than that, is that, yes, we do need to discern, particularly as we are honing our animal communication skills. And basically, this is a topic that is bigger for a beginning animal communication introductory workshop, but I do want to show you one technique that has helped me a lot. And that is when I take my thumb, and you can either use your first finger or your second finger, and you're going to do it with both hands. I choose to use the second finger, and I'm going to link them together. And then what I do is I ask my body to show me a yes, and I will try to pull my hand apart. And for me, if I cannot pull my fingers apart, that is a yes. I will then ask my body to show me a no. And for me, I'm pulling as hard as I can, and the fingers came apart, okay? So that is kinesiology, and that is a way that you can start to discern if the information came to you is truly from the animal. But what you have to do first is you have to know what the yes is and what the no is. And that's what it is for me. It can be different for you. And then you practice, okay? Is my name Sam? No. Is my name Janet? Okay, I'm pulling hard here and it's not coming apart. So you practice with obvious yes and no questions like that. And then once you feel comfortable, that both you and your body are on the same page, so to speak, about yes and no, or whatever it is for you, then you can start taking that tool and working with your animals. And again, practice. Ask your dog if his name is Zachariah, okay, and then see what you get. Ask your cat if your cat can fly, and then see what you get. But that is one thing that I find very helpful, is the kinesiology of it. It's only done with yes and no questions, and it's only done, you only use it with your animals after you have practiced it. So don't start practicing with your animals, okay? Because it's a new skill. Practice it on your husband, practice it on your kids, practice it on your sister, on your neighbors, practice it on anything else, anybody else, except your animals. And then when you start to feel comfortable with that, practice on your animals. And remember always to ask your animals if it's okay that you connect with them and if you practice with them. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. My passion is talking about animal communication because I truly believe that it changes the world. I truly believe animal communication changes the world. And not in the sense that I'm an animal communicator and I'm changing the world. Not that at all. Animal communication changes the world because it brings all species, all sentient beings closer together. And we live in a time when we need to come closer together to all sentient beings, and we need to take off our human blinders and see what's going on. So for me, connecting with the animals is one heck of a way to start that. So thank you very much for being on tonight's workshop. And I will be sending you, it usually takes, a few hours for me to get the link, but as soon as I get it, I will send it to you. You should have it by end of business tomorrow, Friday. So everybody take good care, and thank you for coming.